Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars through the main screen. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months now, looking for new planets and life forms. Jake was a tall man with brown hair and steady blue eyes. He had been a ship captain for 10 years, but he had never seen anything like what appeared on their screens that morning. "Captain, we have something big coming toward us," said Kate Sullivan, the tactical officer. She was a young woman with red hair who was very good at her job. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel as she tried to get more information. "How big?" Jake asked, walking closer to her station. "Really big, sir. Maybe 5 times larger than our ship, and it does not match any ship design in our database." Jake felt his heart beat faster. First contact with alien life was something every space explorer dreamed about, but it was also very dangerous. "Amy, what do our weapons look like compared to theirs?" Amy Rodriguez was the weapons specialist. She was a small woman with dark hair who knew everything about guns and missiles. She looked at her screens and shook her head. "Captain, their ship has weapon systems I have never seen before. The energy readings are off the charts." Dr. Ben Carter walked onto the bridge carrying a cup of coffee. He was the ship's archaeologist, a thin man with gray hair who studied old human artifacts. "What is all the excitement about?" he asked. "We have visitors," Jake said, "and they might not be friendly." The alien ship appeared on the main screen. It was huge and dark, with strange curves and lights that pulsed like a heartbeat. The ship looked like nothing humans had ever built. It seemed to bend light around itself, making it hard to look at directly. "Incoming message," said Grace Turner from the communication station. She was a blonde woman who spoke 6 different languages, but it is not coming through normal radio. They are using some kind of direct transmission to our brains. "Put it through," Jake ordered. A voice filled the bridge, speaking perfect English, but with a cold mechanical sound. "Small ship of the primitive species. You will lower your shields and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in your immediate destruction." Jake looked around at his crew. They all looked worried, but they were ready to follow his orders. "Open a channel," he told Grace. "Channel open, Captain. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel New Horizon. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic contact. We mean you no harm." The alien voice laughed, but it was not a pleasant sound. "Diplomatic contact? Your species has barely left its home system. You have primitive weapons and simple technology. There is nothing to discuss. You will surrender or be destroyed." Amy looked at her weapon controls. "Captain, their shields are incredibly strong. Our lasers and missiles would not even scratch them." "Demonstrate," the alien voice said suddenly. The New Horizon shook violently. All the lights flickered, and several control panels sparked. The ship's shields, which had protected them from asteroids and cosmic radiation, simply disappeared. "Shields are down," Kate reported, her voice shaky. "Engine power is at 30%. Whatever they hit us with, it went right through our defenses like they were not even there." Luke Barnes, the security chief, came running onto the bridge. He was a big man with muscles that came from years of military training. "Captain, they are boarding us. I can see their shuttle attached to our cargo bay." Jake made a quick decision. "All crew to emergency stations. Luke, get your security team ready. Amy, grab whatever weapons you can from the armory." "Sir," Dr. Carter said quietly, "what about the historical collection in Storage Bay 7? "What about it?" Jake asked. "Well, it has weapons from Earth's history, swords, bows, spears, things that are thousands of years old." Amy shook her head. "Those are museum pieces, Doc. We need real weapons." The ship shook again as the aliens finished boarding. Through the security cameras, they could see strange creatures moving through the halls. The aliens were tall and thin, with gray skin that seemed to glow. They wore armor that looked like it was made of energy rather than metal. Each alien carried a weapon that hummed with power. "Luke, report," Jake said into his communicator. "Captain, these things are not like anything I have ever seen. Our pulse rifles are not doing any damage. Their armor just absorbs the energy. We need to fall back." "Retreat to Deck 3, Jake ordered. "We will make our stand there." As the crew prepared to abandon the bridge, Dr. Carter grabbed Jake's arm. "Captain, please. The historical weapons might be worth a try. These aliens seem to know everything about our modern technology, but they might not know about the old ways." Jake looked at the old archaeologist. The man had spent his whole life studying how humans fought in the past. Maybe he knew something. The rest of them did not. "Amy, take a team to Storage Bay 7. Grab anything that might be useful." "Captain, that is crazy," Amy said. "Maybe, but our regular weapons are not working. We need to try something different." The aliens were getting closer. Through the security system, Jake could see them moving through the ship like they owned it. Their weapons cut through locked doors like butter. Their armor made them look like walking nightmares. Grace suddenly looked up from her station. "Captain, I am picking up their communications. They are not speaking to each other in words. They are using some kind of shared mind connection." "What are they saying?" "They think this will be easy. They have conquered 47 other species, and none of them lasted more than an hour. They call us the soft meat people, and think we will surrender when we see how powerful they are." Jake felt anger building in his chest. Humans had fought for thousands of years to survive. They had faced ice ages, plagues, wars, and disasters. They had climbed out of caves and reached for the stars. No alien was going to call them soft meat. "Amy, forget the pulse rifles. Get to that storage bay now." "Look, how long can you hold them?" "Maybe 10 minutes, Captain. These aliens are fast, and their weapons are incredibly powerful." "Make it 15, Jake said. "We need time to try something these aliens have never seen before." As alarms rang throughout the ship and the aliens advanced, Captain Jake Morrison hoped that Dr. Carter was right. Maybe the oldest human weapons would succeed where the newest ones had failed. In a few minutes, they would find out if thousands of years of human warfare could stand against the most advanced alien technology in the galaxy. Amy Rodriguez ran through the shaking corridors of the New Horizon with 3 other crew members behind her. The aliens had cut the power to half the ship, so emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls. She could hear the sound of energy, weapons firing somewhere behind them. "This way," she called to the others. Matt Collins, the ship's engineer, carried a toolkit. Grace Turner held a portable computer. Dan Kelly, a young maintenance worker, looked scared but kept up with the group. They reached Storage Bay 7, and Amy typed her access code into the lock. The heavy door slid open with a grinding sound. Inside, the bay was filled with display. Cases and storage boxes. Dr. Carter had spent years collecting weapons and artifacts from human history. There were swords from medieval times, bows from ancient armies, spears from tribal warriors, and armor from knights. "This is crazy," Matt said, looking around. "These things are thousands of years old. How are they supposed to help us fight?" "Aliens?" Amy pulled open the first case she saw. Inside was a longbow made of wood and horn, with a leather grip worn smooth by countless hands. Next to it were arrows with steel points and feathers for flight. She had learned archery as a child, and her grandfather had taught her to hunt with a bow just like this one. "Maybe Dr. Carter is right," she said, lifting the bow. "Our energy weapons are not working. These aliens seem to know everything about our technology, but they might not know about this. Grace found a case filled with swords. There were curved blades from Japan, straight swords from Europe, and heavy axes from northern countries. She picked up a sword with a long, thin blade. "I took fencing classes in college," she said, "but this feels different. Heavier." Dan found shields made of wood and metal. Some were round like the ones used by Viking warriors. Others were long and rectangular like Roman soldiers carried. "At least these might stop their energy blasts," he said hopefully. Amy strapped a quiver of arrows to her back and tested the bowstring. It was still strong after all these years. Dr. Carter took good care of his collection. "Everyone grab something you think you can use. We need to get back to the others." Matt picked up a warhammer with a long wooden handle. The head was made of iron and looked like it could break through armor. Grace chose the sword and a small round shield. Don took a spear with a leaf-shaped point and a crossguard to stop enemy weapons from sliding down the shaft. They heard footsteps coming down the corridor. Luke Barnes appeared around the corner, breathing hard. Blood ran from a cut on his forehead. "The aliens are coming," he said. "They have taken the upper decks. Captain Morrison is setting up a defense on Deck 3. "Did our pulse rifles work at all?" Amy asked. Luke shook his head. The energy just disappeared into their armor. "It was like shooting at ghosts. But I noticed something strange. When Johnson threw a wrench at one of them, it actually hit. The alien seemed surprised. Amy felt a spark of hope. Their shields stop energy weapons, but not solid objects? Maybe. We need to test it." They made their way back through the ship, carrying their ancient weapons. The corridors were dark, except for the red emergency lights. In the distance, they could hear the aliens talking to each other in their strange musical language. They reached Deck 3, where Captain Morrison had gathered the remaining crew. 23 people huddled behind overturned tables and equipment cases. The captain looked up as Amy's team arrived. "Did you find anything useful?" he asked. Amy held up her bow. "We are about to find out." Dr. Carter smiled when he saw the weapons. Excellent choices. The longbow was the most feared weapon in medieval warfare. English archers could shoot 12 arrows per minute and hit targets 300 yards away. "These are not medieval times, Doc," said Kate Sullivan. She had a small cut on her arm from flying debris. "No, but the principles are the same," Dr. Carter replied. "Kinetic energy, momentum, sharp edges. Physics has not changed in 1,000 years." Suddenly, the lights at the end of the corridor began to glow brighter. The aliens were coming. Their armor made soft humming sounds as they moved. There were 6 of them, walking in a line. Each one carried a weapon that looked like a crystal rod surrounded by crackling energy. "Everyone stay down," Captain Morrison whispered. Amy crouched behind a supply crate and placed an arrow on her bowstring. The aliens were 50 feet away. Now, she could see their faces through their helmet visors. They had large eyes and no nose, just slits where a human nose would be. Their skin was gray and seemed to glow from within. The lead alien raised its weapon. Energy began to build around the crystal tip. Amy drew her bowstring back to her cheek, aimed and released. The arrow flew through the air in a perfect arc. It struck the lead alien in the center of its chest. The creature looked down in shock as the steel point punched through its armor like it was made of paper. The alien made a sound like breaking glass and fell backward. The other aliens stopped and stared. They had never seen anything like this before. One of them pointed its weapon at Amy and fired. A bolt of blue energy shot toward her hiding place. But Amy had already moved, rolling to a new position like her grandfather had taught her. Matt stepped out from behind cover and swung his warhammer at the nearest alien. The creature tried to dodge, but the heavy iron head caught it in the side. The alien's armor cracked like an eggshell. It fell to the floor and did not get up. Grace lunged forward with her sword. The blade sliced through an alien's weapon, cutting the crystal rod in half. Sparks flew everywhere as the device exploded. The alien stumbled backward, confused and frightened. Dan thrust his spear at another alien. The point went through its armor at the shoulder joint, where the metal plates met. The alien dropped its weapon and tried to pull the spear out, but Dan twisted the shaft and pushed harder. The remaining two aliens looked at each other. One of them spoke into a communication device on its wrist. The words were in their alien language, but the tone sounded like Panic. Luke Barnes had found a crossbow in the weapons collection. He loaded a thick bolt and fired at one of the talking aliens. The bolt hit it in the leg, and the creature fell to one knee. "This is impossible," the last alien said in English. Its voice shook with fear. "Your primitive weapons cannot penetrate our battle armor." Amy loaded another arrow. "Primitive? These weapons conquered half of Earth before you aliens were even born." She released the arrow. It struck the alien in the shoulder, spinning it around. The creature tried to raise its weapon, but could not lift its arm. Captain Morrison stood up. "Tell your friends that humans do not surrender easily. We have been fighting for survival for millions of years. Your fancy technology does not scare us." The wounded alien looked around at its fallen companions. 5 aliens had been defeated by weapons made of wood, steel, and iron. Weapons that used no power source except human muscle and skill. "This cannot be happening," the alien whispered. "It is happening," Dr. Carter said, stepping forward with a bronze sword in his hand. "And this is just the beginning. We have thousands of years of weapons and tactics you have never seen before." The alien pressed its communication device again and spoke rapidly in its own language. Then it looked at the humans one more time before turning and running back down the corridor. Amy watched it go. "Think it will bring friends?" "Count on it," Captain Morrison said. "But now we know their weakness. Everyone grab more weapons from storage. We have a ship to take back." For the first time since the aliens had boarded, the crew of the New Horizon had hope. The galaxy's most advanced warriors had been defeated by humanity's oldest weapons. The real fight was just beginning. Admiral Vexthal stood in the command center of the Stellar Dominion, staring at the reports from his boarding team. His tall, gray body trembled with anger. In 47 conquered worlds, no species had ever defeated his warriors. Yet somehow, these primitive humans had killed 5 of his best soldiers with weapons made of metal and wood. "This is impossible," he said to his second-in-command, Commander Zalaneth. "The humans use simple energy weapons and basic shields. How did they defeat quantum battle armor?" "The survivors report that the humans used solid projectiles," Zalaneth replied. "Sharp metal points fired from bent wood. Bladed weapons swung by hand. Our shields were designed to stop energy attacks, not physical objects." Admiral Vexthal slammed his fist on the control panel. "Send the elite guard, 20 warriors, with molecular disintegrators and quantum phase rifles. These humans will learn the price of resistance." On the New Horizon, Captain Morrison gathered his crew in the main cargo bay. Word had spread quickly about the victory on Deck 3. Everyone wanted to help fight the aliens. Dr. Carter had opened all the weapons storage cases, and crew members were choosing swords, spears, bows, and shields. "Listen carefully," Captain Morrison said. "We won the first battle, but the aliens will send more soldiers, better trained and better armed. We need to be smart about this." Dr. Carter stepped forward. He carried an ancient Greek shield and a short sword. "Captain, I have studied military history my whole life. The weapons we are using come from the greatest warriors in human history. But it was not just the weapons that made them great. It was how they used them together. What do you mean? Asked Amy Rodriguez. She had chosen a recurved bow and a quiver full of different arrow types. Formation fighting, Dr. Carter explained. Roman legions, Greek phalanxes, Viking shield walls. Individual soldiers working as one unit. That is how small armies defeated larger enemies. Luke Barnes nodded. He had picked up a Viking battle axe and a round wooden shield. In the military, we call it unit tactics. Everyone has a job, and everyone protects everyone else. Captain Morrison looked around the cargo bay. The space was long and narrow, with support pillars every 20 feet. Dr. Carter, what formation would work best in these corridors? A phalanx, the old archaeologist said immediately. Greek soldiers used it for centuries. Men with spears and shields stand in rows. The shields protect everyone, and the spears stick out in front like a wall of death. Grace Turner had found a Roman gladius and a rectangular shield. I read about this in history class. The front row holds shields together. The second row stabs over their shoulders with spears. Exactly, Dr. Carter said. And if the enemy tries to go around, the formation can turn to face them. Matt Collins raised his hand. He carried a crossbow and a bag of bolts. What about those of us with ranged weapons? You stay behind the phalanx, Amy answered. We can shoot over their heads while they hold the line. Captain Morrison divided the crew into groups. The strongest people got shields and spears for the front lines. Those with archery skills took bows and crossbows. A few crew members chose swords and axes to protect the flanks. Remember, the captain said, these aliens have never seen tactics like this. They fight with individual weapons and advanced technology. We fight as one unit with weapons our ancestors perfected. Kate Sullivan came running into the cargo bay. Captain, sensors show 20 aliens moving toward us. They are heavily armed and wearing different armor than before. Positions, everyone, Captain Morrison ordered. The crew formed up in the corridor outside the cargo bay. 8 people with shields and spears made the front line. They locked their shields together, creating a wall of wood and metal. Long spear points stuck out between the shields like the teeth of some ancient monster. Behind them, 6 more crew members stood ready with shorter spears. Amy and 3 others with bows took position at the back, arrows ready to fly. Matt and 2 engineers with crossbows spread out to cover the sides. Here they come, Luke whispered. The elite guard aliens appeared at the end of the corridor. They were bigger than the first group, and their armor was black instead of silver. Each one carried 2 weapons, a rifle that hummed with energy and a pistol that glowed blue. The lead alien raised its rifle and fired. A beam of crackling energy hit the shield wall. The wooden shields glowed and smoked, but they held together. The aliens fired again and again, but the shields protected the humans behind them. Now, Captain Morrison shouted. Amy and her archers rose up behind the shield wall and fired. Arrows flew through the air like angry hornets. The aliens tried to dodge, but in the narrow corridor, there was nowhere to go. 3 arrows found their marks, punching through alien armor and dropping the warriors to the floor. The aliens charged forward, thinking they could break through the shield wall with their superior strength. But the humans were ready. As the aliens hit the shields, the second row of spears thrust forward. Sharp metal points found gaps in armor and joints where protection was weak. One alien tried to jump over the shield wall. Grace was waiting with her gladius. She stabbed upward as the alien came down, and the creature fell with a cry of pain. Another alien ran to the side, trying to get around the formation. But Dan Kelly was there with a warhammer. The heavy iron head crushed the alien's weapon and sent it sprawling. The aliens began to panic. Their energy weapons could not penetrate the shields. Their armor could not stop the ancient blades. They had trained to fight enemies with technology, not warriors with bronze and steel. "Fall back," one alien shouted in English. "This is not possible. They fight like demons from the old stories." Matt stepped out from behind a support pillar and fired his crossbow. The thick bolt caught the retreating alien in the back, and it fell face first to the floor. In less than 5 minutes, 20 Elite Guard aliens had been defeated. Some were dead, others wounded and crawling away. The humans had won again, and this time no one was hurt. Captain Morrison looked at his crew. They stood in perfect formation, shields locked, spears ready. Sweat ran down their faces, but their eyes were bright with victory. "Outstanding," he said. "Dr. Carter, your history lessons just saved our lives." The old archaeologist smiled. "Captain, we have barely started. There are dozens of other formations we can use. Ramong Testudo, Celtic Wedge, Norse Berserker Charge. Each one designed for different situations." Amy lowered her bow and looked down the corridor where the aliens had fled. "They will be back, and next time they will bring even more soldiers." "Let them come," Luke said, hefting his battle axe. "Humans have been fighting for survival since we lived in caves. A few aliens with fancy weapons do not scare us." Grace cleaned her sword blade on a piece of cloth. "The aliens think technology makes them superior. But they have forgotten something important." "What is that?" Captain Morrison asked. "War is not about having the best weapons. It is about having the will to fight and the knowledge to win. Humans have been learning how to fight for thousands of years. These aliens just learned that all their advanced technology cannot replace human courage and tactics." Dr. Carter nodded. "Every weapon we carry, every formation we use, was paid for with human blood and tested in real battles. These aliens may have conquered other species, but they have never faced an enemy that has been preparing for war since the dawn of time." Captain Morrison looked around at his crew. They were just ordinary people, scientists, engineers, pilots, and technicians. But armed with humanity's oldest weapons and tactics, they had become something the aliens could not understand or defeat. "All right, everyone. Let us get ready for the next wave. And remember, we are not just fighting for our ship. We are fighting for every human in the galaxy. These aliens need to learn that humanity is not as primitive as they think." The crew cheered and raised their weapons. Ancient swords, spears, and bows caught the light. For the first time in the battle, Captain Morrison believed they might actually win. Admiral Vextel paced back and forth in his command center like a caged animal. 2 of his best assault teams had been destroyed by primitive humans using weapons that belonged in a museum. His officers stood around him, afraid to speak. In the Zephyrian Empire, failure was punished by death. "How many humans are on that ship?" he demanded. "Sensors show 43 life forms," Commander Zalanith replied. "But only 25 are fighting. The others appear to be hiding. 25 humans defeated 50 of my warriors?" The Admiral's voice rose to a scream. "With swords and arrows? Sir, perhaps we should try a different approach. Gas attacks, or cutting off their air supply." Admiral Vextel stopped pacing and stared at his second-in-command. "No, I will not be defeated by primitives. Activate the planetary destroyer." The bridge fell silent. The planetary destroyer was the most powerful weapon in the Zephyrian fleet. It could turn an entire world into dust in seconds. Using it on a single ship was like using a sledgehammer to kill a fly. "Sir, the weapon requires 5 minutes to charge and lock onto the target," Zalaneth said carefully. "The human ship will need to remain still during that time. Then we will make sure it cannot move, disable their engines completely. When the weapon is ready, we will erase these humans from existence." On the new horizon, Dr. Carter sat in the ship's library, reading through old military books on his computer. Around him, crew members sharpened swords and made more arrows. The victory against the elite guard had given everyone hope, but Carter knew the aliens would try something different next time Captain Morrison walked over to him. Any ideas about what they might do next? They will escalate, Dr. Carter said without looking up from his book. When faced with unexpected tactics, armies throughout history have always tried to use more force. But that is not what worries. What does worry you? Dr. Carter turned his computer screen so the captain could see it. The page showed a drawing of ancient Roman soldiers building a siege tower. The aliens have been thinking like individual fighters. But what if they start thinking like generals? Before Captain Morrison could answer, Kate Sullivan's voice came over the ship's communication system. All crew to emergency stations. The alien ship is powering up some kind of massive weapon. Everyone ran to the bridge. On the main screen, they could see the Stellar Dominion. The huge alien ship was glowing brighter than before. Energy was building up around a weapon that looked like a giant crystal at the front of the ship. How long do we have? Captain Morrison asked. Sensors show the weapon will be ready in 4 minutes, Kate replied. And Captain, our engines are completely dead. They hit us with some kind of pulse that fried all our power systems. Amy Rodriguez checked her weapons panel. Our missiles and lasers are still offline. Even if they worked, that ship is too big and too well protected. So we just sit here and die? Luke Barnes asked. Dr. Carter stood up slowly. His old face was thoughtful. Captain, what is the one thing that has worked for us so far? Ancient weapons and tactics. Exactly. So what would ancient warriors do if they were trapped and facing a superior enemy? Captain Morrison thought for a moment. They would attack first, get to close range where size and numbers matter less. A boarding action, Dr. Carter said. Like pirates attacking a larger ship. Get on board, take control, win by courage and skill instead of firepower. Grace Turner looked up from her computer. That is crazy. How do we get from here to there? The alien ship is 500 yards away. Matt Collins, the engineer, was studying the ship's blueprints on his tablet. We have 4 escape pods. Each one can carry 6 people. They are meant for emergency evacuation, but they could work for a boarding attack. The aliens will shoot the pods as soon as we launch. Amy pointed out. Dr. Carter smiled. Not if we use the right tactics. Matt, do the escape pods have grappling hooks for rescue operations? Yes. Each pod has magnetic grapples and steel cables rated for 10,000 pounds of pull. Then we can do this. Amy, how good are you with that bow? I can hit a target at 200 yards. Perfect. We are going to attempt the oldest naval tactic in human history. We are going to board their ship like pirates. Captain Morrison looked around at his crew. 3 minutes until the alien weapon fired. It was crazy, but it might work. All right. Here is the plan. 4 teams, 6 people each. We load into the escape pods with grappling hooks and ancient weapons. Launch straight at their ship. They will see us coming, Kate said. Maybe not, Dr. Carter replied. Ancient armies use deception all the time. We make them think we are running away, then attack when they least expect it. Luke Barnes was already moving toward the escape pods. I like it. Vikings used to hide their ships behind islands, then attack when the enemy thought they were safe. The crew split into 4 teams. Captain Morrison led the first team with Amy, Dr. Carter, Grace, Matt, and Dan Kelly. Luke Barnes commanded the second team. Kate Sullivan led the third, and the ship's cook, Frank Wilson, took charge of the 4th team. Each team grabbed weapons from the collection. Swords, axes, spears, bows, and shields. They also took rope, grappling hooks, and anything. else that might help them climb aboard an enemy ship. 2 minutes until they fire, Grace announced. The teams climbed into the escape pods. The small ships were designed to keep people alive in space, not to attack enemy vessels. But they were fast and hard to detect on sensors. "Remember, Captain," Morrison said over the radio, "we launch in different directions. Make it look like we are abandoning ship in panic. Then we circle around and attack from 4 sides at once. Just like Crazy Horse at Little Bighorn," Dr. Carter added. "Attack from everywhere at once. Confuse the enemy." "Launch pods," Captain Morrison ordered. The 4 escape pods shot out from the new horizon in different directions. To the aliens, it looked like the humans were abandoning their ship in terror. Admiral Vexthal laughed when he saw the small ships fleeing. "Look at them run," he told his crew. "When our weapon destroys their ship, we will hunt down the pods one by one." But the human pods did not keep running. As soon as they were out of the aliens' direct sight, they turned around. Using small maneuvering thrusters, they approached the stellar dominion from above, below, and both sides. 30 seconds until weapon fires," Amy said, watching her countdown timer. Captain Morrison's pod came in from above. Through the small window, he could see the alien ship's hull rushing toward them. It was covered with smooth metal and strange symbols. "Deploy grappling hooks," he ordered. Matt fired the magnetic grapples. Steel cables shot out and struck the alien hull with loud clangs. The hooks locked onto the metal surface, and the pod's momentum swung them down toward an airlock. "All teams, sound off," Captain Morrison said into his radio. "Team 2 attached," Luke replied. "Team 3 on target," Kate reported. "Team 4 ready to board," Frank called out. The alien weapon fired just as the last pod attached to their ship. A beam of pure energy shot through space and struck the new horizon. Captain Morrison's old ship disappeared in a flash of light, torn apart by forces that could destroy planets. "Well," Dr. Carter said calmly, "now we have to win. There is nowhere to retreat to." Captain Morrison checked his sword and shield. Around him, his team prepared their weapons. Outside the pod, they could hear alien voices through the hull. The enemy knew they were there now. "Remember what we learned," he told his teams over the radio. "Ancient tactics, modern courage. These aliens have never faced an enemy like us." "Boarding action begins now," Luke's voice crackled over the radio. "Time to show these aliens how humans really fight." The escape pod airlocks opened, and 24 humans with ancient weapons prepared to attack the most advanced alien warship in the galaxy. Armed with nothing but swords, spears, bows, and 5,000 years of human fighting experience, they were about to attempt the impossible. The real battle was just beginning. Captain Morrison and his team cut through the alien airlock with an old Viking battle axe. The metal was strong, but human determination was stronger. As the door fell inward, they found themselves in a corridor filled with bright white light and humming machinery. "Move fast," Morrison whispered to his team. "We need to find their command center before they organize a defense." The inside of the alien ship was like nothing they had ever seen. The walls curved in impossible ways, and the floor seemed to glow from within. Symbols that hurt to look at flowed across surfaces like living things. Everything was designed for creatures much taller than humans. Amy Rodriguez had her bow ready, an arrow fitted to the string. "Which way, Captain?" "Up," Dr. Carter said, pointing to a ramp that spiraled toward the center of the ship. In every military design throughout history, the command center is always at the highest, most protected point. They could hear fighting from other parts of the ship. Luke Barnes and his team were battling aliens near the engine room. Kate Sullivan's group was securing the weapon systems. Frank Wilson and his crew were holding the escape route. "Team leaders, report," Morrison said into his radio. Luke here. We have taken the engine room. These aliens fight like individuals, not like a unit. Every time we use formation tactics, they panic. Kate reporting. We control the main weapon. Systems. The aliens keep trying to use their energy weapons in close quarters. Our shields and armor stop everything they have. Frank here. Escape route is secure. But Captain, we are trapped on this ship. If we cannot take control, we all die. Morrison knew Frank was right. The New Horizon was gone, destroyed by the alien superweapon. This ship was their only way home. They had to win or die trying. The team reached the upper levels of the ship. Here the corridors were wider and the ceilings higher. Alien guards appeared around corners, firing their energy weapons. But Amy's arrows found them first, and Matt's crossbow bolts punched through their armor like it was made of paper. The command center is just ahead, Dr. Carter said, reading symbols on the wall. I have been studying their writing system during the fight. It is based on mathematical concepts. They came to a massive door made of some kind of crystal. Through the transparent material, they could see a large room filled with control panels and screens. At the center stood Admiral Vexthil, surrounded by his personal guard. 12 aliens, Amy counted, all wearing the heavy armor. And that big one in the middle has to be their leader, Grace added. Morrison studied the room. The aliens had positioned themselves in a circle around their admiral. Their weapons were aimed at the door. They were ready for a fight, but they were thinking like individuals again, not like a team. Dr. Carter, how did ancient armies deal with superior numbers in a confined space? The old archaeologist smiled. Single combat. Challenge the leader to a duel. If you win, the enemy often surrenders. Honor codes exist in every warrior culture. You want me to fight their admiral one-on-one? It is either that, or we try to fight all 12 at once. And Captain, look at how they are standing. They respect their leader. If he falls, they will be lost. Morrison checked his sword and shield. The weapon was a Roman gladius, short and deadly. The shield was round, made of wood and iron, decorated with bronze studs. Both had been carried by soldiers who conquered half the world. He stepped up to the crystal door and struck it with his sword hilt. The sound rang through the command center like a bell. All the aliens turned to look at him. Admiral Vexthil, Morrison called out in a loud voice. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the human race. I challenge you to single combat. Winner takes control of this ship. The aliens spoke to each other in their musical language. Admiral Vexthil listened, then stepped forward. He was 8 feet tall and covered in armor that seemed to be made of living energy. His weapon was a staff topped with a crystal that crackled with power. You dare challenge me, primitive? The admiral's voice boomed. I have conquered 47 worlds. I have defeated the greatest warriors in the galaxy. Then one more should be easy, Morrison replied. The crystal door dissolved like smoke. Morrison walked into the command center alone, leaving his team behind. The alien guards formed a circle around the two leaders, their weapons lowered. Even in their advanced society, they understood the honor of single combat. Admiral Vexthil raised his energy staff. Lightning shot from the crystal tip, but Morrison was already moving. He rolled to the side like a Roman gladiator, avoiding a lion's claws. The energy blast struck the floor where he had been standing, melting the metal. The admiral fired again, but Morrison was closer now. He raised his shield, and the energy blast spread around it like water around a rock. The wood smoked and glowed, but it held. Impossible, the admiral said. My weapon can melt through battle tank armor. Your weapon is designed to fight energy shields and metal plating, Morrison replied, circling like a wolf. This shield is made of oak wood and iron bands. Materials your computers do not understand. The Admiral swung his staff like a club, trying to smash Morrison with brute force. But the human captain had studied sword fighting since childhood. He ducked under the swing and struck with his gladius. The blade scraped across the alien's armor, leaving a bright scratch. Admiral Vex Thill stepped back in shock. "You cannot hurt me. My armor is made of quantum-bonded molecules." "Then why are you bleeding?" Morrison asked. The Admiral looked down. Green blood was seeping through a crack in his armor where the sword had hit. The quantum bonds that held his protection together had been broken by simple steel moving fast enough. "This is not possible," the Admiral whispered. Morrison attacked again, using techniques that Roman gladiators had perfected in the arena. He feinted high, then struck low. His shield caught the alien's energy blast, while his sword found another gap in the armor. The Admiral stumbled backward, his weapon sparking and failing. Green blood ran down his arms. "How are you doing this? Your weapon is primitive. Your armor is simple." "You are right," Morrison said, advancing steadily. "My sword is just steel. My shield is just wood and iron. But they were made by people who understood something you have forgotten." "What?" Morrison struck again, his blade sliding between armor plates. "Fighting is not about having the best technology. It is about understanding your enemy and adapting to win. You aliens have the same weakness as every empire in human history." The Admiral fell to one knee, his energy staff clattering across the floor. "What weakness? You forgot how to fight without your technology. You conquered other species because they tried to match you weapon for weapon. But humans have been fighting with sticks and stones for millions of years. We know that. The warrior matters more than the weapon." Morrison placed the point of his sword at the Admiral's throat. The alien guards raised their weapons, but their leader held up a hand to stop them. "You have defeated me," Admiral Vex Thill said quietly. "According to our laws, the ship is yours." "Tell your empire something," Morrison said. "Humans do not surrender easily. We have been preparing for war since we lived in caves. Your technology is impressive, but it cannot replace the will to fight and the knowledge that comes from thousands of years of combat." The Admiral nodded slowly. "I will tell them, but they will not believe it until they see it for themselves. Then, I hope they are smart enough to choose peace instead of war, because next time we will be ready for them." Morrison stepped back and lowered his sword. Around the command center, alien guards laid down their weapons. Dr. Carter and his team entered the room, their ancient weapons still in hand. "Dr. Carter," Morrison said, "can you figure out how to fly this ship?" The old archaeologist walked to the control panels, studying the alien symbols. "It might take some time, but yes. The mathematical principles are the same." Amy Rodriguez looked out the large windows at the stars. "So what now, Captain?" Morrison cleaned his sword and put it back in its sheath. "Now we go home, and we make sure Earth is ready for whatever comes next, because I have a feeling this is just the beginning." 6 months later, the story of the New Horizons crew had spread throughout human space. Ancient weapons were no longer kept only in museums. Military academies added courses on historical combat tactics. And when the next alien fleet arrived at Earth, they found humans ready for them. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Technology could make you powerful, but wisdom and courage made you unbeatable. And humans had both in abundance, refined by millions of years of survival and warfare. Admiral Vex Thill kept his word. The Zephyrian Empire never attacked human space again. They had learned that some species were too dangerous to conquer. No matter how primitive their weapons appeared to be. In the end, humanity's oldest weapons had indeed outmatched the galaxy's most advanced superweapons. And the galaxy would never be the same.